right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for getting your stuff and coming out here, taking your time. I made the presentation for everybody in mind, so there might be some information that you're like, yep, got it. There might be some things where you're like don't know and really want to know, so I tried to cover all bases, just so you know that. My name is Elaine Antipuesto, and I am the middle school math teacher here at Sandhill School. I teach all grades of 6, 7, 8, and I'm also the math lead here, so I also lead the lower school in the math curriculum here. I'm going to go ahead and go over some kind of just quick background information of CHC and Sandhill. Raise your hand if you are familiar with CHC and like what we do here. Cool. All right. So I'm not going to read any of this, but it is in the packet if you really wanted to know. So we're just a community-based nonprofit organization. We help children, teens with either learning differences or depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. We want kids to be healthy, so these are some things we focus on. Our vision here is we believe the promise and potential of every child, teen, and young adult. Some other things. And this is kind of our areas of excellence. We have a lot of specialists of ADHD, anxiety, depression, autism, and learning differences. Particularly at Sandhill School where I work, we specialize with students with language-based learning disabilities, so dyslexia, dysgraphia. There is some dyscalculia. I always have a weird time saying that word. And also ADHD and ADD. So we have a lot of services here. These are 4 kind of centers here at CHC. And we're talking about growth mindset. So this is our objective. Can you guys see that kind of gray? Should I lower the lights a bit? No, you guys are good? Okay. So this is kind of what I would like to get done today. I like to write my objectives with the I can language instead of students will be able to. I don't know. I just sounds empowering to me. So there's a couple things. Number 1, can I have a popcorn reader just read the first bullet point? Just anybody nice and loud for us?
Demonstrate good knowledge about your growth mindset.
Thank you. And the second one, anyone like to read that one? Nice and loud for us?
Identify at least 2 strategies from each of the following best practices that speaks to me. First, establishing culture, shifting teacher practices.
Very good. So let me just go ahead and close this. It's really loud. We are practicing for our spring play, and they're doing Wizard of Oz over there. So, all right. Yeah, a couple points here. So 1, just kind of get background knowledge of growth mindset. What is it? All those things. And 2, strategies, how to implement the culture in the classroom. How do you actually change culture in your classroom to more focused of a growth mindset? And is that possible? How do you foster that? How do you nurture that? And if you want to begin draft an action plan, that's kind of optional. If you want to start brainstorming some actions for yourself and any type of strategies that really speak to you, that can also be an objective, okay? All right, so those are my focuses. This is our agenda. Intro, about 5-ish minutes. I'm going to then talk about what is growth mindset for about 15 minutes. And then why teach and foster a growth mindset? Why is it worthwhile? We're educators here, and we have curriculum to teach. And we can feel a lot of pressure. I certainly do. And we have to take time out of our curriculum to do growth mindset lessons and to have time for reflection and all the things necessary to actually shift culture in your classroom. Why do that? And so those are kind of just the growth mindset portions. 4 and 5 are going to be strategies. What can we do? Okay, so 4 is fostering culture in the classroom. We'll do 25 minutes of that. So fostering culture in the classroom are what students do. What can you set up in your classroom that students are doing to foster a growth mindset in your classroom? And number 5 is shifting teacher practices. Changing culture is not just changing it to this, like the students need to change. Some shifting needs to happen with the teacher also. And these are things you can do to kind of shift your own teaching practices so that you can foster that growth mindset. And then closing, okay? So after each section, I'll probably ask for questions. So if you have questions, we can do that like at the end of each section. Sorry. So if I might table questions if like it's timely, just so you know that. I don't mean to be rude, but just know that I might table questions, or I might just answer a question if it's like, you know, it seems right too. But if it seems like a long discussion, I'd be like, ooh, let's table that, we'll parking lot it, and we'll discuss that in a minute. Cool. Any questions about agenda? All right. All right, so growth mindset. What is it? Okay. So what I'd like you to do, because since there's a wealth of knowledge in here, I kind of wanted to create a word cloud first before I just talk to you for 10 minutes about what growth mindset is. So if you can just pull out your phones and go to menti.com, and I'll have the website up here. So this is the website. It's up here, menti.com. And you are allowed 3 entries answering this question. So once you're at menti.com, you enter this code, 629105. Yeah, it's really fun. And then I want you to type in, what is one word you think of when you hear growth mindset? And you're allowed 3 separate entries. So don't type in 3 words at once. Type in a word, hit like the enter or whatever, and you can type in 2 more. Okay, and as we'll just do this for like 2 to 3-ish minutes and kind of look. Oh. Hi. Oh. Ooh. Okay. And again, you are allowed 3 entries. So if you have 3 ideas, you can put 3. Up to 3. Wi-Fi passwords up here. Ooh. Love it. Oh. Let's do 1 more minute, 60 seconds to put in like something. And if you didn't just got your, yep, use in class, PDs, whatever you want. Yeah, you create an account, and word clouds is just one of the types of datas they do. They do tons of other datas. It's really neat. I love it. Yeah, it's great. And I think this is on the resource page. Menti.com is on the resource page in this packet in the back. Okay, so you don't have to hurt your hands writing everything. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at this. If you're still putting up words, go ahead, please do. Anything we notice? Call out? Yeah, different colors. Some words are bigger. Yeah. What do we think that means if the word's bigger? More common, right? Several people put persistent. Everything else looks a little singular after that. It looks like the same thing. I like mistakes. It's great. Powerful. Ooh, success. Nice. Love it. Love of learning. Dynamic. Great attitude. Does anyone want to speak to the mistakes part? I can see students looking at this and looking at mistakes and being like, why? It's okay to make mistakes, right? Yes, mistakes are opportunities to learn, and those are kind of the core philosophies of growth mindset. That looks great. Ooh, I like the can. I like the word can. Yeah, Nice. Thank you guys for engaging in that. Just kind of looking at our, risk taking. Everyone's going to put in like new ones now. Nice. All right. So this is a tool you can use if you want to. Again, it's on your resource packet. We're going to move on so we're not like stuck. But thank you for participating. Ooh. And choice. I like that word too. All right. Hopefully I can find my PowerPoint again. Okay, cool. So we have some ideas about growth mindset. Oop. So let's go ahead and just go over direct definitions and like where it came from and all those things so you have that knowledge. So growth mindset is an idea of how people internalize their learning, coined by Carol Dweck in her book Mindsets. Those are my words. Yes. Nice. Great. And so here's a little picture. Where's your picture? Yeah, there she is. So she's a PhD. She's one of the world's leading researchers in the fields of motivation and is the Lewis and Virginia Eaton Professor of Psychology at Stanford University. Not quite sure what that means, but she's right next door. Her research has focused on why people succeed and how to foster success. Cool. Here's something she said about what growth mindset is. In a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just a starting point. The view creates a love of learning and resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. So if you turn to the first page over in your kind of presentation, like this kind of packet, and you'll see some words of growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So if you heard of growth mindset, you might have heard of fixed mindset. So these are ways of thinking and the way that you can frame your thoughts, and students frame their thoughts of learning. Okay, so on the left, you have the growth mindset kind of stuff, more effort. And then you can see on the other side fixed mindset. And then you can also see they're purposely like across from each other because it's like the opposite of that. Embraces challenges, avoids challenges. Learns from feedback and criticisms, ignores criticisms. Any thoughts, takeaways, questions, comments about this page? Yes.
How struck the kids can be even in second grade. She's a smart one.
Yeah.
She's our artist. She's a creative one. And they kind of pigeonhole each other.
Yes. The thing that's interesting is fixed mindsets, like it happens so quickly and so young. Like you'll find kindergartners, first graders, second graders who are like, no, I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to fail. I don't want to try, right? And we have to ask ourselves, like, where'd they learn that, right? Has to be somewhere. Any other comments, takeaways, thoughts you'd like to share?
So I'm a kindergarten teacher for the past 18 years. And one of the things that we start the year off with, I never say I can't. I always say I can. And we don't get it the first couple of months, but I swear to God now, it's like, even if one of them they notice, which is like they notice at a very young age who's maybe failing, and they'll always tell the other kid, don't worry, just say I can. It's working to a point where I go through my life and I say, yeah, I can do this. Yeah. So we have to present that when we walk into the classroom and we feed off of that. Yes, that's our mindsets are crucial.
Yeah, power of language, right? And we're their guide, we're their teacher, they look up to us, especially at that age. So anything that we're adopting, anything that we're saying, they're gonna pick up on that. And that's what they're gonna exhibit and hold on to, right? Good. Thank you. All right. So any other questions about growth mindset, or like this was kind of all the definitions I was going to go over with growth mindset. I wasn't going to like dive deep, but I thought it was like deep enough kind of.
So what do you do when you do have a kid who's extremely negative? Obviously, there's underlying reasons of why this is happening, but it's, you know, it's inspiring all the other kids to say, yeah, I don't want to do this. No, I can't do this. I'm just speaking for a little bit older grades because I've taught that too.
Yes.
What do you do in that?
When there's an older kid, when there is a child who is the negativity, yes, it's a lot of work. So there's a lot of things like, you know, teachers don't have control over, like their home lives, the people around them, the way they're being brought up, or like their friend sets, or what they're watching, what they're playing, all those things. So, I mean, there's a lot of things when we look over the strategies. Some of those might answer your question. And then we can rediscuss like maybe some of those things. Yeah, but we also keep in mind like we can only do what we can. So it's always good like when you see strategies to choose a couple that you're really passionate about and say, usually I like to choose two. Because I've been teaching growth mindset lessons for 8 years now, and explicit to students over and over. And I didn't come up with these 8 strategies on day one. I usually do like two a year. And that's all I can try, and I try my best, so yeah. I forgot, I was gonna show video. I'm gonna show video. I'm not gonna show the whole thing. It's like 8 or 10 minutes. I'm probably gonna show the first 4 minutes. So this is actually Carol Dweck at a TED Talk talking about growth mindset. So we'll watch some of her. And if you're interested, again, it's in the resources. You can like watch the whole thing when you want to. Okay? All right.
The power of yet. I heard about a high school in Chicago where students had to pass a certain number of courses to graduate, and if they didn't pass a course, they got the grade not yet. And I thought that was fantastic, because if you get a failing grade, you think, I'm nothing, I'm nowhere. But if you get the grade not yet, you understand that you're on a learning curve. It gives you a path into the future. Not yet also gave me insight into a critical event early in my career, a real turning point. I wanted to see how children coped with challenge and difficulty. So I gave 10-year-olds problems that were slightly too hard for them. Some of them reacted in a shockingly positive way. They said things like, I love a challenge, or, you know, I was hoping this would be informative. They understood that their abilities could be developed. They had what I call a growth mindset. But other students felt it was tragic, catastrophic. From their more fixed mindset perspective, their intelligence had been up for judgment, and they failed. Instead of luxuriating in the power of yet, they were gripped in the tyranny of now. So what do they do next? I'll tell you what they do next. In one study, they told us they would probably cheat the next time instead of studying more if they failed a test. In another study, after a failure, they looked for someone who did worse than they did so they could feel really good about themselves. And in study after study, they have run from difficulty. Scientists measured the electrical activity from the brain as students confronted an error. On the left, you see the fixed mindset students. There's hardly any activity. They run from the error. They don't engage with it. But on the right, you have the students with the growth mindset, the idea that abilities can be developed. They engage deeply. Their brain is on fire with yet. They engage deeply. They process the error. They learn from it and they correct it. How are we raising our children? Are we raising them for now instead of yet? Are we raising kids who are obsessed with getting A's? Are we raising kids who don't know how to dream big dreams? Their biggest goal is getting the next A or the next test score? And are they carrying this need for constant validation with them into their future lives? Maybe because employers are coming to me and saying, we have already raised a generation of young workers who can't get through the day without an award. So, what can we do? How can we build that bridge to yet? Here are
Let's stop it there. So, yeah, it's a fantastic video. She's wonderful. And anytime you could watch any of her videos or read her book, I highly suggest. She really has the power of shifting your mind and like really considering your teaching practices and like, maybe it doesn't need to be that way. Yeah. Any thoughts, any sharing takeaways or questions? Okay. I wanted to do like another interactive. When I'm in like presentations, I always like games or something. Like I like interaction. So it's another website, Kahoots, if you have not been to Kahoot. So again, if you're new here, you can sign into the Wi-Fi from the board over there. And I'm going to go to the website so you can see where to go. So we're just going to do a quick check for understanding. Kahoot, raise your hand if you use Kahoot. Like Kahoot, yeah. So it's a cute, quick way to quiz kids, and like kids kind of like it. They sometimes get frustrated because, sometimes they are not number one. So, growth mindset. Here we go. Let's play this. So if you're at Kahoot, so it's going to tell you where to go and what numbers to put in. Oops, sorry. It's loading. Oh, there we go. Classic. You could have teams. All sorts of fun. Yes. Hello. There we go. Okay, there it is. So you go to kahoot.it and you put this game pin on there. Nine, 4, 3, 7, 2, 2. So once everyone's signed in, I'll start the game. We have 4 players so far. Naughty nicknames beware. 1 click. So no profanity. Yeah, that right there. Kahoot.it. Yeah. I'm gonna turn that down. It's real loud. I'll play this with kids, but I'll always kind of preface it's for fun. We're just gonna do this for fun and do fun things. So they're not, super frustrated. But this is just a quick check for understanding. It's just gonna ask questions about growth mindset. Just read all entries. It's like multiple choice. So read all entries carefully because there can be some tricky ones. You've been warned. Is everyone ready? Anyone else not ready? No, not yet? No? We'll start in 30-ish seconds. Is that okay? Cool. We have 14 people. Yay. L. So mysterious. L. Okay, I think we can start. Is that okay? And then if you're just watching, just hanging out. All right. Oh, somebody got out. What happened? It's cold feet. Got scared, huh? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Growth mindset. What is it? Okay. Who created the idea of growth mindset? You have tons of time. You have like 20 seconds. Oh God, which one? Who created also awesome people. Oh, yay, good job. I feel like a good teacher. I tell my kids, oh, what? Oh, fastest time. Hey, Ed, good job. Yeah, you are pointed on time too. All right, next. People with a growth mindset believe that you best be careful. Ooh, all of these answers. Oh, she's so cruel. She's cruel. All right, good job. An example of a fixed mindset is fixed. Fixed. Oh, good job. Ignoring criticisms. So this is fixed mindset. So we want the bad one, right? Ignoring criticisms. Cool. Wow, super fast. She's going to hold on to it now. Who's Caitlin? Caitlin? Oh, yeah. All right, last one. 2 examples of a growth mindset are, you need to choose 2. Oh. So 2, right? Oh, did only one person choose both? Ah, technology. Just blame the technology. It's not. All right, well, good job. That was for fun. All right, so check for understanding. Cool. You guys good? Get some results here, I think. I don't know. That's good. Good job, guys.
Okay, question, and maybe other people can jump in. Things like Kahoot and what else is it I use in class? I'm not going to go the other one. You put up people's score, the kids' scores up on the board. Yeah, you had it on here and I use it too, and I can't just think right now.
Empty?
No, not empty.
Something different?
Yeah, it's something different.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Yeah. Yeah, anyways, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because I find that my students get extremely competitive and they go, oh, look at my score, look at your score. How do you deal with that? I mean, it creates a lot of competition.
Yes.
I will, if I knew that was going to happen, like I did that and I was like, oh, that's a bad idea. I would still do it, but I would set it up next time. So I would say, I'd probably first establish culture and talk about, doing things for fun and what that means, and have a discussion with the class. What does that mean? We'll make a list of what does that mean? Oh, it means good sportsmanship. How does that look like? And we'll talk about that. Once I feel like we've established like a good list of what does it mean to play something for fun and good sportsmanship, I would tell them, well, I'm going to we're going to practice that. Okay, and we're going to get points for every time I see this, or something like that, or some type of thing where they can visually see that behavior, and then kind of that payout, kind of like, oh, I see, like now the class is like, we're all doing that, and that feels really good. You know what I mean? So I would do something like that. I would set it up, but I wouldn't want that to stop me from teaching them how to do something for fun. Yeah. Is that good? Cool. All right, so we're here, we did that. Why teach and foster a growth mindset? So teaching and fostering a growth mindset takes a lot of time, and you have to invest. And it's kind of like, well, why do this? Because we have a curriculum. We can't even teach all the standards. We can't do all these things. Why do this? So we did watch some of this video. I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Does anyone have any ideas on their own of why it's important to teach a growth mindset and foster a growth mindset, just from the video that we watched and from your own experiences? Yes.
I think it helps students embrace a challenge. and take on challenges and be okay with maybe not getting it yet. So
Yes.
kind of being able to stick with something, a little grit and persistence.
Yeah, so persistence, sticking with it. And this isn't just something we do in math class, right? This is something different. I mean, it's like for everywhere, right? Let's hear from you and then you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned sometimes about the kids with the fixed mindset, because frequently they also can be very bright, but the first time they run into something that they can't do, they have a tendency to say, oh, suddenly they're up against a brick wall going, oh, I'm not as smart in math as I thought I was. And then they're ready to just mail it in and say, oh.
That is something, great point. The fixed mindsets is not just the students who are struggling in math. Sometimes students who are struggling in math are fine with their mindset. I've had many high-performing students who have a very rigid fixed mindset because they've got it so easy for so long, and you throw something new at them or a different way of thinking or a different way of doing something, and they can not want to learn that way or something. So yeah, it's all students, right? It's not just the low-performing students. Thank you. And then?
Well, they mentioned that you have to look beyond the next test. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, they're students for a limited number of years in their lifetime. It's got to be mindsets for beyond their life skills.
Yes. Yeah, beyond the test. Yes.
I'm a preschool teacher, a Montessori preschool teacher, and for our school, the reason why we started focusing on growth mindset and it adheres closely to our philosophy is the preparation of the human being. It's not just what happens in the classroom, and it's not just what happens in Silicon Valley or the United States. We really don't know how mobile these children are going to need to be and how adaptive.
Yes.
So it's better for them to have a good tool set
Yeah.
before going out into the challenges of the bigger world.
So I'm preaching to the choir here. Why should we teach a growth mindset? We should. For not just scores, but for lifelong learning, right? So I'll just kind of go through this. And then we have some data. If you like data, I like data. These can be found on the internet. These are studies done by Dweck and some other people in Child Development 2007. But you can just see like grades, math grades before and after intervention. This is not math intervention. This is growth mindset intervention. Like, so I'm going to see that. Cool. Junior high, kind of the same thing, saying the same thing. These are 7th graders. And I like this one. Students who identified having a fixed mindset and students who identified having a growth mindset, and how they scored in the PISA mathematics score, which I believe is an international test students take. Cool. All right, so I kind of just summed it up here. Why do we teach a growth mindset? Why is it important? It promotes achievement in the classroom. That's nice. Promotes healthy social emotional learning. So the whole child, you've heard that before, right? Whole child. And creates lifelong learners. So it's not just about the classroom, it's about the child, the person they're going to grow up to be. Okay, so we're going to move into the strategies portion. We're going to talk about first fostering culture in the classroom. This is what students do. You have to set it up for them, but this is things students do mostly. And then number 5, shifting teacher practices will be what teachers need to do to kind of help shift that culture, okay? So let's look at fostering culture in the classroom. So I asked myself this question: what systems can we incorporate in our classrooms for students to practice to shift the culture of learning? So when you're in a classroom, you're not just teaching, you're creating a culture of learning. And, you know, the students live under that culture. So whatever you are fostering, whatever you are creating in that culture, that is what is bringing up the student. And these were 4 that I use all the time. So number 1 is teach growth mindset explicitly. You need to have a lesson of just growth mindset. day one or like early in the year. But if I wasn't teaching growth mindset this whole year and I just learned about growth mindset, I would teach it tomorrow or next week if I was tired. But I would do it soon because it's so valuable. And then promote purposeful language. Just shifting our language and the way we say things and the way and training students to say those things as well. We're saying like the power of language can work amazingly in a classroom. Inject positivity wherever we can. And then feedback and reflection, having opportunities for students to have feedback, positive feedback, and then reflecting, so that you give them chances to improve, chances to like goal set, so that they can become the person they want to be. Okay, so let's look at the first one. I'm just going to kind of talk about these. If you have questions, I've been talking too fast or something, please jot them down so that we can talk about it after I'm talking. Okay, teaching growth mindset explicitly. So you need to introduce growth mindset. It's a huge idea. So you need to teach it explicitly. And also you should come back to growth mindset periodically. You can't just teach it and then never talk about it again, because kids are not going to care or learn or remember that. So you have to come back to it periodically. I do one growth mindset lesson every trimester. That's explicit lesson, like for the whole day or for the whole lesson. But I do usually after breaks before benchmark testing, because benchmark testing, they're gonna freak out. And just remember that growth mindset, guys. Before any PBL, like project-based learning or investigative lesson where I feel like they're gonna feel vulnerable with numbers everywhere, they don't know what to do, they're in tears. So stuff like that. Whenever I feel like, they're not gonna like this because I'm not gonna tell them the answer, I'll do a growth mindset lesson. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show you a sample of one. So this is on ucube.org. ucube.org is the brainchild of Jo Boaler, who is also at Stanford, and she's the other huge name in growth mindset. She has on her website Inspirational Math Days. I've done all these lessons. I love them. I will do them every year. It comes with a video. But on her site, she has a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that site. Let's see here. And we're going to watch maybe all of it or just maybe some of it. So once you're on this site, if you go to Tasks and More, you go to Week of Inspiration Math. There's so much resources on here. There's so many great lessons, videos. I still haven't gotten to everything. It's a bleed into science. But yeah, it's kind of because they want to shift the thinking of math, I think, because it's so vulnerable with the growth mindset stuff. Okay, I'm going to do the middle school grade, but it's pretty much the same thing, just so you know. So in day one, it has a lesson, you do this lesson. Before that, it has a video that you show students. So we'll go ahead and watch this video. Please show video.
Hi, my name is Jo Boaler and I'm a Professor of Mathematics Learning at Stanford University. Welcome to the Week of Inspirational Math that my UCube team and I have designed for you. Most of the days start with a short video from my online course with some really important messages about math learning. And today's first message may be the most important of all. Everyone can do well in math. I hope you really enjoy the week. Here's the first video from the course. You may have been told or led to believe that some people are math people and some aren't, or that math isn't for you. Well, it turns out that's not true. Everyone is born with the innate ability to do well in math, and whether you do well or not comes from the experiences you've had and the beliefs that you hold.
Everyone can do really well in math.
There may be some people, who seem naturally good at math, or just love it, when you don't. But that has come about because of experiences they have had. Anyone can get to the highest level of math in school.
There is no such thing as a math person or the idea that some people are math people. Everyone is a math person.
Let's look at the brain evidence. Scientists now know that experiences grow your brain, and the brain is so plastic that it can rewire itself and grow in a really short space of time.
This is how learning works. When you learn something, a synapse fires in your brain. It's like an electric current. And the pathways formed by the synapse are like water in the sand. The more you return to an idea, the stronger the pathway gets. If you don't go back to it, it will wash away. When you learn something, your brain grows, and if you learn it deeply, it grows and stays. So you may think some people are just brainy or smart because they just are, but it all comes from what they've learned. And
you can catch up to them.
When you learn, synapses fire. And this doesn't just happen when you're in a class, it can happen when you read, when you build something, when you have a conversation, when you get an idea, and when you make a mistake. Synapses are firing in your brain every day.
The brain is like a muscle. The more you work the muscle, the more it grows, just like in the gym.
If weightlifters exercise with the same size weights, they wouldn't grow muscles, and they have to keep increasing the weights. It's the same with math. The harder you think, the more you struggle with an idea, the more your brain grows.
Here is some of the evidence that has stunned scientists in recent years and made them realize that everyone's brains can grow and change at any time.
Taxi drivers in London have to learn 20,000 streets and 25,000 landmarks in London before they become qualified. They study for 2 to 4 years, and at the end of that time they take a test which is just simply called the knowledge. When they've finished their training, scientists have found that the hippocampus in their brain is bigger. And the hippocampus is the area of the brain that's specialized in acquiring and using spatial information. When they retire from being a taxi driver, their hippocampus shrinks back down. That's how flexible the brain is.
Scientists took a group of people who could not juggle and split them in half. With one group, they really encouraged them to practice, also showing them some good ways to practice.
Not surprisingly, the group that practiced learned to juggle and the other group didn't. But the practice group also had significant brain changes. They grew the seeing and movement areas of their brains, and they developed more ability.
So the brain is much more plastic than anyone ever thought. In one of the studies, a 6-week training course, when students worked on a task just for a few minutes each day, changed the structure of their brains. And we should think about that. Working on a task for a few minutes per day for 6 weeks can cause your brain to rewire and grow. If that's true, imagine what you can do for your brain over the course of a year in a math lesson.
All right. So this is a video you would show students. This is middle school appropriate. It could also be high school, it's fine. But on my resource page on the back of this packet, there is elementary, completely fine to show K through 5. There is middle school and high school other videos that you can choose from to show a class, to model growth mindset and start like an explicit lesson on growth mindset. Okay. Let's go ahead.
So you would show that video, and then what would you follow that up by? What kind of a lesson that focuses on that mindset?
So for this particular video, if you go to this lesson, so this is an actual lesson. So I believe this lesson is honoring ideas. So I think this is the 4 4s. Has anyone ever taught the 4 4s? You have 4 4s. And you can do anything you want with them. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. You can use fractions. You can like make little exponents, but you can only use 4s, no other number. And you have to come up with all the numbers 1 through 20. So like 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, that'd be like 16. I found 16. 4 minus 4 plus 4 divided by 4. Like they just play around. You have to play and find all the numbers. And it's like, oh, let's see how many numbers you can find. And it's a great exercise. Like I've done it with 5th graders all the way to 12th graders. Every single grade loved it. Yeah. So for this one, yeah. Okay. And there are other grades. There's K through, I don't know, 12.
What's your primary one, just to compare?
The video. Because of time, I don't want to watch, like the video will take a long time. It's very similar, but it is very age appropriate. Okay. So if you were to go to like Cast or more, you can go to K. And they would have a video there. There's also a video on Class Dojo that I put up on here.
that is specifically for kindergarten, first grade, second grade, that I watched, and it's fantastic for little kids. So that's also a great one to show, and then you can do one of these tasks too, like any of these. Yeah. And I have taught them to first graders, and the first graders also do these lessons like fantastically. I teach very low grades. I teach from 1st through 8th in the summer, so that's fun. All right. So we're gonna move on here. Okay. Cool. So we're gonna move on to the next one. So the teach explicit lesson. Promote, the second one is promote purposeful language in the classroom. So a lot of teachers have posters like this, and this is in this packet. If you just turn to the 3rd page, I believe, page 3, you'll see this kind of blown up. You would want to train students to use the growth mindset, like phrasings. You can have this out. The kids can be like, you know, I'm not good at this. Depends on the age group and how you want to, like, you know, give that student feedback. For my middle schoolers, a kid was like, you know, I didn't learn anything today, and he like finished his whole packet. Like, he said he doesn't know math, he doesn't know anything. He finished his whole packet, and I like kind of kneeled down to him, and I was like, oh, what makes you say that? And he was like, well, I don't, you know, I got this one problem wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, how many did you get right? And he told me like 9. I'm like, okay, well, you know, how can we rephrase that? Because it's not that you didn't understand anything. And I'll have them like look up here and have them say it like a different way or something. Or you just want to kind of help train students to use like better language. And during the explicit lesson, that first lesson, you would want to introduce this. Or you can have students come up with their own. You can just show the fixed mindset side and be like, oh, raise your hand if you ever said this. They're all gonna raise their hands. How can we rephrase that? You want to foster growth mindset, kids. How do I say this? They're gonna have so many ideas, you're gonna get tired writing. So they will come up with their own. And once you have that, they have ownership in the culture, and they're gonna invest in it. And they're gonna keep each other accountable too. So just using purposeful language. The third one, oh wait, hold on. Oh, the power of yet. So we actually don't have time for this video, but there's a video and it's on the resources. I would put double stars on this video because it is fantastic. It has Janelle Monáe. Let me kind of show you where it is. Okay, at the bottom of page 13, it says Edutopia. 5 videos, 6 core growth mindset, including Janelle Monáe and Sesame Street. Raise your hand if you know Janelle Monáe. She is fab. And she was on Sesame Street and she sang a song about the power of yet. So if training students to like use purposeful language is very difficult or struggling, like just you adding the word yet to anything that the student says can also be powerful. I don't know how to do this yet. You'll know it next week, trust me, that sort of thing. That can also be a powerful shift for some students. Yeah. Power of yet. And check out that video, it is great.
You want to establish a ritual of growth mindset, appreciations, and acknowledgements. So these are things you can do to just highlight when students are using growth mindset. As teachers, we want to take measure of how much negativity we're kind of putting out in the classroom. Like, don't do that. You need to walk quieter. Shh, I told you to stop talking. You know, every time we do that, we are putting negativity out in our classroom. Even sometimes it's necessary. So we want to take measure of that, and I challenge myself, for every negative thing I do, I need to put 3 positive things back out there. And that's something I purposefully try. I write it in my lesson plans. If I feel like it's necessary and there's a student who I'm losing, I'll actually like track data for myself, like to actually see like, I forgot to say something good to this student. Students all over the place. So I need to say some things that this student's doing right. Yeah. So I have some examples here, like weekly shout outs. Praise on general strategy, thinking, and perseverance. So instead of praising right or wrong, to praise the thinking. Like, wow, that was a great idea, even if it's completely wrong. Just like, I wouldn't have even thought of it that way. Like, have a little, like, I don't know, star chart, like new thinking, star, good job. You know, just new ideas. Celebrate those new ideas, the divergent thinking. So I was at, I think it was called Girls in Power. I was at NCTM this weekend in DC, and I was with Girls in Power organization, and they had told me that this phrase has been like clinically studied. I'm giving you this feedback because I believe in you and your abilities. So before you give feedback, to say this. And I think the focus group, who, you know, of course, was given this line when given feedback, like had significant like grade raises and just, you know, happiness in general. The students who were not given this feedback, it was very hard for them to grow. So even just saying that for your, like, to your students, so kids know that, like, you're on their side and you care. Also in your packet here, I do have one of my templates for my shout outs. So I like shout outs. I don't know why. I like appreciations. I like students being like, I want to shout out to you because you helped me realize I was wrong. But this is a template for my shout outs. I usually print them out and cut it. You can just create your own. Like, I just search for a generic frame, and then I made these lines and stuff, and I cut them out. I have students create shout outs. I cover walls with them. Students deliver them to people they want to give shout outs to. So that's another way of like recognition, praise. You want to like create a ritual or some type of community building thing for students. Also creating instances for feedback and reflection. We have to carve out the time for students to reflect on how they're doing. We have to validate their voice. It cannot just be us talking to students and telling them where they're at. They need to have input as well, or else they're not going to care because they have no power. And we want to give them, they need to learn how to use power. So this is allow room for daily, weekly reflections in your class for students to think about their growth mindset. Some examples of this is let them rate themselves or grade their growth mindset or their grade in general. How did you demonstrate a growth mindset this week? What would you like me to highlight? You can take some of the students' responses, anything that's awesome, you can like post it up. What is one thing you can improve on? So one thing I do weekly here at Sand Hill, I forgot to talk about my power quotes. I should probably just talk about that real quick. It's hard to like see this is like power quotes. This is something else I did just to sidetrack for a second. I create power quotes for my students. Sometimes students can create their own, but our students here at Sand Hill have issues writing and writing quickly. So I just created like a bunch, just ripped off the internet. And then with the power quotes, these are growth mindset quotes. If you just search for growth mindset quotes, there's like a billion. And then I have students, so if you look at the ones after the growth mindset power quotes, you'll see this sample student work reflection. This is actually one of my students right now. And I did this right before our Ames Web benchmark in January. So our do now was choose a growth mindset power quote. Some students, so this is on page 7, sorry. Some students like cut out their favorite. Some students wanted to write their own. And then I asked them these questions. How do you feel about taking the Ames Web benchmark? They kind of had a little rating scale here, and then they elaborated how they felt. This student said, I feel pretty good because I have done it before. How do you feel when you look at your math data? So I think for this one, actually, they had to unpack their data. I was going to show them their results, and I wanted them to, like, you know, and be real. I want to show them the results and, like, well, this is where you're at. This is what the benchmark is saying, and in X amount of months, where would you like to be? That's what I want to ask them. So they can be like, I want to be in the excellent range. Okay, to do that, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z. So just kind of goal setting. So back to this feedback and reflection. One thing I do weekly in my class is I have this middle school mindset. So our kids, I realized, so when I was at a charter school where it was like college for certain kind of atmosphere, I had the college mindset, and it was very similar. But this one's a middle school mindset because our kids came from lower school and now they're middle schoolers, and they kind of don't know the difference. So these are what I tell students. This is how you are to be a successful middle schooler. Professionalism, behavior, growth mindset, and grit. You need those things. And this is this crazy rubric I make. But what I do is I just circle their grade where they're at every week, and then they reflect. Like, oh yeah, I did shout out 5 times last week. I'm gonna try only twice this week. And then they write this reflection on the other side. One of my favorite questions here is number 4. Is there anything you need from Ms. Antipuesto to reach your goal grade? Some students get confused about that. They're like, what do you mean? What do I need from you? Usually I'll tell students, like, well, do you want a reminder? Do you want me to tap your desk silently if you are veering away from your grade, your goal? Do you need praise? Are you a student who needs praise? Are you a student who needs breaks? Are you a student, like, what do you need from me so that you can, reach your goal? So we are done with we're done fostering culture in the classroom. We're going to move to shifting teacher practices. So again, fostering culture in the classroom were things that students do. This is now, so changing culture, I feel, is unfair if it's all on the student because they're young, and that's a lot to ask from kids if we are also not changing and kind of making shifts in our own practices, because we're kind of in it together. So here are some shifting teacher practices that I like to do and still am trying. What are some things I can shift in my own teacher practices to help support growth mindset in my classroom? I came up with 4. Math teaching philosophy, grades, model growth mindset for students, and lesson planning. I'm actually going to talk about number 1 last today, because it's kind of the most heaviest, and yeah. Let's just talk about grades. So there's a lot of philosophies behind grades. How should you grade? Some people think you need to grade by mastery. If a student has an A, that means they know the 7th grade math content, A+ everything, check, 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 check. Some people have room for soft skills, behavior, citizenship, that sort of thing. So I guess shifting kind of your ideas of grades. So you can try, and I think Carol Dweck talked about this, grading for something different, having a grade towards goals or growth. I think Carol Dweck was talking about grading for the yet, I think. Was it like yet? Yeah, not yet. So again, this is my growth mindset rubric. So that crazy rubric you saw, that was a whole page. Every week, my students get a middle school mindset grade. And I always talk about it like it's their whole grade, even though it's not. But it's like super important. This is like if you're a middle schooler or not. But I do grade for growth. I also let students kind of sometimes choose their grade. Like, where do you think you were this week? And where do you want to be next week? And if you reach that goal, what grade would you like? And let them do that. And you'd think students would be, sneaky about that, but I would say 95% of students are really honest and true about that. All right, model growth mindset for students. So one way we can also, as teachers, foster growth mindset is to model it. Shift from the being, I have all the answers teacher. So as math, that's how math has been taught for a very long time. Like, your answers are wrong. I have the right answers. No, that's right. Yes, that's wrong, sort of thing. Shifting that to being, those are great thoughts. Let's see what happens here. So my students can kind of get irritated with me because sometimes, well, all the time when they ask me, is this correct? I'll say, I don't know. Let's check. Or, I don't know. Show me. Show me your thinking. So, show me your thinking is something I say a lot. Show me your thinking. Show me the money. Show me your thinking. Promote investigation, proof of thought-centered thinking. Be okay with making mistakes with your students. At Sandhill, we have very small classes. My biggest class is 12 students. But I have 4 separate classes to teach, all with differentiation, 4 different grade levels, and it's a lot. So I make a lot of mistakes because I'm switching different subjects every hour. So I make a lot of mistakes and my kids call me out on it, and just being okay with it, and just modeling how that looks like, not being like mad that they called you out or they shouted out. It's fine. I'll be like, oh, what should I do? I'll like throw it back and ask a question. How should I fix that? Great, I learned. Thanks, guys. So something like that. So you want to like be okay with making mistakes too, because they're not, they're not going to believe anything you're saying if you're not doing what you're preaching. Can you explain your thinking to the class? I say that a lot too. Cool. All right, lesson planning. I'm giving a big smile because I don't like it. It's yucky. All right, so create an SEL goal or objective for yourself, along with the lesson goal. So we all have objectives, targets, criteria of success, all those things. Let's make an SEL goal for ourselves, and let's figure out what our class climate is. So make sure it's measurable so you can improve your practice. What am I talking about here? Well, let's take a look. So this is an example. By the end of the school year, at least 90% of students will feel if they keep practicing and work hard, they will eventually reach mastery. So I have a percentage there, at least 90% of students. I would like, basically that says, have a growth mindset. Same thing here, except this is students. 90% of students will feel I care about their learning and as a person. So as a teacher, that's really important to me. I do want students to feel like I care about their learning and I care about them as a person. And it's different, and kids feel it's different too. So I'm gonna be vulnerable and show you my data. I love looking at data. Essential question 1, do students have a growth mindset? In my classroom last year, this is at the end of the year, 10 students didn't take it. Just keep in mind. Okay, let's look at the school data. So the question that was asked is, I feel if I keep practicing and work at it, I will eventually reach mastery. So with this class last year, I didn't do too much growth mindset stuff, but I did do some. I did not pull out my whole arsenal of stuff, but I did do some because it was my first year at Sandhill and I wasn't quite sure what the priorities were here. I was kind of feeling it out. I did much more this year, but any thoughts, takeaways? It's not bad, yeah. And some neutrals, no disagrees. Yeah, so not bad. I felt okay with that. Next question. Do students feel like I care about their learning? I feel like Ms. Antipuesto really cares about my math learning. It's not bad, but as a teacher and a math teacher, you look at that one kid, and I'm like, I gotta reach that kid. I have to reach that kid. I know who that was too. Hopefully it doesn't feel that way this year. Okay, essential question 3, do students feel like I care about them as a person? And you can see it's a little different. Should I flip back and forth? We can see. I know. I think it's the same kid. He's really mad at me. Yeah. And I told them, be honest. Be honest, guys. I don't care. I don't care if you hurt my feelings, because you're not gonna. They're like, okay. So, yeah, most of them were good. So, writing an SEO goal for yourself and actually polling the class, like, you know, kind of name is optional sort of thing, can really be insightful, because if I had to guess, like, actually, I'd have no idea. Like, I don't know if you could think of your classrooms and, like, kind of guess, and then when you look at your results, you're like, huh. That's not what I expected. And now I feel empowered. I can do something. I can write an action plan. I can say, hey, I know who that kid is. So I'm going to say 5 great things and give them good phone call homes or something like that. Like, I need to, like, really work on this kid, because this is probably why the kid is not doing that great. And this kid was not doing great. So that's a correlation, right? Okay, cool. All right. I'm just going to touch upon this, even though it's the most important one. But there's no time for it, because it's just super loaded. After that, I'll take questions. But this should be its own presentation. And I think some of us, like, if you've been, like, learning about, like, mathematical mindsets and different ways of thinking of math, it should not be a surprise. So we're not going to read this. We're not going to have time. But if you look on page 10, there is a great article / book. It was an article at first, and now they turned it into a book because it's so amazing. It's by Paul Lockhart, A Mathematician's Lament. Anyone heard of A Mathematician's Lament? It's pretty obscure. So A Mathematician's Lament is basically about what if this country taught music the way we taught math? Some interesting faces here. Any guesses? Thoughts? What if we taught music the way we taught math? Drilled notes and scales, made them memorize chords. This is music, guys, right? We'll tell kids. This is music. You need to know your chords. You cannot sing. You cannot play the piano until you've memorized all your chords and stuff and know how to do all the things. I was actually a music major before, and I forgot everything. But it would be pretty awful, wouldn't it? And people would hate music. Hate it. So it makes us think about math. Is math computations? Sometimes. That's definitely a part of it. So this, and you can, I think the link is on the back, or like, you can download the whole book for free. I highly suggest you read it. It's pretty amazing, but it's going to really shift your thinking on what math is and why we teach it the way we teach it. So we're not going to do that. We don't have time. So my kind of takeaway for you is, or my last words is, the way we teach is, there's no accident that when we teach growth mindset, it's with math. It's because of the way we've been teaching it historically. We've been teaching it as computations, which is definitely a part of it. It's kind of like building a beautiful building, like architecture. It's a beautiful art to like do that, but you have to have tools in order to do that. You have to learn, you have to know what a hammer is and a screw, and you have to know how to like use them in order to understand how to build a beautiful structure. And that's kind of how I see math and computations. Computations are the tools, but it's not the math. The math is creation. And you have to shift your classroom and start doing creative math and start to have students investigate and create their own ideas about math, okay? This is a really cool thing. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll read it. Of all the STEM fields, math scholars were the most extreme in emphasizing fixed innate abilities. So it's coming from the top, from professors and higher learning. Other researchers are finding that many math instructors begin their course by referring to students who have the aptitude and those who do not. One college instructor on the first day of an introductory college course was heard to say, if it's not easy for you, you don't belong here. If this is the message passed down from generation to generation, no wonder students are afraid of math, and no wonder they conclude they're not math people when it doesn't come easy. And this is Carol Dweck. This is actually in the foreword of Mathematical Mindsets by Joe Bowler. I have the book over there if you want to take a picture later. I'm actually going to raffle a book too, if you stay till the end. Okay, so what do we do? Well, here are some ideas. This is the biggest thing that I'm not a master of this, but I try to do it as much as I can. So embrace more inquiry-based learning lessons in your classroom. Some popular ones, Dan Meyer's 3 acts are amazing. If you just Google Dan Meyer's 3 acts, it'll pop up like whole portals of lessons that have the 3 acts that are investigative math learnings. ucube.org, the Inspirational Math, that is all basically kind of that new creation, investigative thinking math. PBLs, if you ever do a project-based learning, I highly suggest doing one. And then having a culture of divergent thinking in the classroom. Never, challenge yourself. Never tell a student they're wrong. See how that goes. How can you rephrase yourself? How can you celebrate different ways of thinking and learning? Also, one thing I like to do in my classroom is to shift, give students language, computations, shift separately says skills learning, not math. When we do investigative learning, I call that math. We're doing math today. We're going to be mathematicians today. Today, we're going to do skills. We're going to build up our skills. So they're not always math bad sort of thing. It's these skills, I'll master that soon sort of thing. That's not my favorite thing. I like the investigative math. And most students do. From my experience, most students like the investigative math way better than mastering skills. Cool. So I'm going to open the floor for questions. And as I do that, I'm going to pass around this little ticket. This is actually our Stingray bucks that students earn. And we do a raffle and they earn silly things. You can write your name on the back. And then, because I have 2 of these books, and I was what am I going to do with 2 of them? No, I'll just raffle one of these guys away. So this is Mathematical Mindsets by Joe Bowler. It is amazing. If you don't want it, maybe one of your colleagues or friends might. So I'm going to pass this out. Are there any questions or comments? Any last thoughts? Yes?
For teaching math, how do you find a balance between teaching creatively, but also finding structure too, so that the students feel like they can master?
So when you say structure, are you talking about computations or just structures and systems in your classroom?
I'm a math tutor, and what I've noticed is a lot of students understand the overall material, but sometimes a lot of students, for example, haven't memorized their times tables. Yeah. And just certain things like drilling, I don't want to use the word drilling, but
for me, it's your style, but the way I like to partition it because I can't handle doing both at the same time. I like to have skills time and investigating time. So skills, so automaticity is necessary. You can't have a student keep counting up when they're doing their 8s. You can't, sorry. But I will have time to do that. So usually the things that kind of are terrible to learn, like automaticity or like something that's drilling and they're like, ugh. I'd like to like put some positivity into it, like visualize their track of learning and have them earn like stars or something, or, you know, something where they can visualize their learning and how far they've come. It'll need that, because if they're just like, hey, next one, now do this one, now you need to divide, now you need to like do long division. I mean, it's just a never ending yuck. So anytime I can make it visible and like make a link to like, oh, look, you've like mastered 50 things, and maybe even draw a picture of their brain and like see how much it grows. Like I want to inject a lot of positivity into the most negative things.
Sorry, I just wanted to share something. We were able to do a lot more implementation of a ritual of growth mindset in the classroom. When in the last 3 years, we adopted character education curriculum for our students. And I think that the reason being is that it took the children to just performing to practicing other other virtues, other activities that is not academically related, and we open up the door.
Yeah.
So on Fridays, these are preschoolers. On Fridays, they sit together, and the character education lasts for 1 month. Parents are involved. We all use the same language.
Okay.
And the children vote one another.
They vote what?
They give example. They vote the person that is going to have the character key for that weekend.
Okay.
And they have to find examples of when that friend or peer exhibited X behavior.
Oh, nice. That sounds
So it's
great.
a lot easier then to give feedback on learning when they feel safe about who they are first.
Oh, that's nice.
So
That's a good culture to build.
yeah, because I can see everybody is very, very high grade, so they still think that they need the same. They need to be people before they are students.
Yeah. There's a reason why,
in the
you know,
classroom.
3rd, 4th, 5th graders can get like the way they are.
Yeah.
It comes from somewhere. It does. Yes.
And I just want to make one comment. There's a ton of resources on growth mindset at Teachers Pay Teachers.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many, you really have to sift through them, but they have some great like activities on the brain that are
That
really
is
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Teachers Pay Teachers is great. All right, I'm gonna choose one so that's people who have to leave. Let's go. Okay, let's choose this person. This person traveled really far. This one right here. Ed.
Oh.
Yay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.